main topic of the show.
I have an Insomniac game.
Listen, I have insomnia, okay? And I'm excited to stay up all night to talk about to talk about the games that made us. These are the games that had some sort of an impact on our lives, that they stuck with us long after the credits rolled. I think it'll be interesting, Austin. I don't know if we can necessarily frame every single game like this, but certain games, not just in terms of like, hey, I played this and I thought it was cool, but how it actually changed something for you. You know what I mean? I think that's the games that we're really going to try to like talk about and address here.
Yeah, the way I thought about, like, because we just threw down a couple of the games. Obviously, this is not all inclusive. There's a lot of games I can be putting on this list, and we could be here for hours.
Exactly.
But I was like, what are the games that, like, when I think back of like periods of my life that I'm like, that was a part of it,
Yeah.
And all of these games that I have written down here are very crucial for one thing or another.
So I think, we'll go back and forth. And, we don't have to necessarily do this linearly in terms of, like, oh, this is the youngest memory, and then we go work towards the current one. I'm going to attempt to do that, but I'm not going to succeed. I'll jump around because that's just,
neither will I. I know probably the beginning, and then anything after that is kind of just all jumbled.
Yeah. So, well, Austin, I think I'll let you do the honors here. To start us off, what was the first game that you think? And if you want to start the first one chronologically, what was the oldest?
Yeah. No, so I'm gonna go back to the start.
Imagine the spinning black and white circle.
Yeah. So yeah, where it all began was I have an older brother who. For all, and not to get super sentimental here on a video game podcast, but for all inclusive purposes, for one reason or another, I view as a father figure to me. And growing up, he's not even that much older than me. I don't know. I don't really know his age because, like,
he's ageless.
Yeah, he's older. So we had a video game console growing up, and I remember picking up the very iconic Nintendo 64 controller. And I remember going over and picking up Super Mario 64. And this game is just like super ingrained into my soul. I love Mario as a franchise, especially the ones where it's more free roam and yeah, it's just Mario. Like, so even more recently, like Mario Odyssey is still one of my favorite games that I've played.
Yeah.
Probably in the last, 7 years, probably is when it came out, right? No. Math?
7. No. Yeah. 7. 8 years.
Super Mario Odyssey came out. Yeah, fucking Christ. Almost 7 years to the dot.
7
October 27th, 2017.
Wow, damn. Damn.
Fucking old, dude. But yeah, no, just those games. I mean, everything about it. Like I can still hear the Bowser sounds. I can still hear the music. I can still like even see the pixels of everything and just like it was just so important that I played this game.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember being great at it, obviously, as a young child. But going back to it as an adult and trying to hold a Nintendo 64 controller, I don't know how I used to even competently play video games on this controller because like I hold it like a dumbass now, and like I feel like there's just like I kind of feel like the oldest old person ever, but it's like the Nintendo 64 as a console is like where it all started for me, and Super Mario 64 is the birth of me as a gamer.
Yeah, for me, it's also Nintendo, and I think it's the same for a lot of people. But and I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast. I probably have, so I'm not going to go super in depth into it because at the very least I've mentioned it on stream and stuff. But for me, the big gaming decision of my life, the first big gaming decision of my life, was getting the Nintendo DS and getting to pick what game I wanted with it. At that, up until that point, I'd played, like browser games. Man, I just forgot the name, but there used to be, I guess there's a little mini, like an honorable mention, perhaps.
Like a Bloons Tower Defense or something.
No,
like that.
okay, yeah, well, that also, yeah. Shout out Bloons Tower Defense. There used on Cartoon Network. There was a Teen Titans. I think it's called like Battle Siege or Siege.
Oh yeah, where
Battle
it was
Blitz.
like a fighting game.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I
dude,
played
I
the
remember this
crap
game
out of
too.
that game.
I used to go to the library after school.
Yeah, exactly. That's the prime place to play Cartoon Network games.
Yeah, dude, I agree.
And so
I wasn't even thinking like Flash games, but 100% like mini clips.
And so those were what I was playing before that. And so then Nintendo DS was my first console. It was a big decision, and I remembered that the choice itself for what console I wanted was simple. It was a black Nintendo DS. But then I was left with the choice of Diamond and Pearl, Pokemon Diamond or Pokemon Pearl, and it was huge because like I remember holding both, like one in each hand, right? And I think most kids who are like now gamers probably had a similar situation.
Yeah,
where
I listen. I made this exact choice, and I remember this exact moment as well of me and my cousin going, "Who's getting Pearl? Who's getting Diamond?" Yeah, and I held them in my hands, and I remembered at the time, like I had recently found out that the birth stone for my birth month, which is June, was Pearl. So I was like, you know what, Pearl it is, and there it is. I absolutely loved that game. It's so interesting because I've Austin pitched this topic, right? And so I've been thinking about it kind of throughout the day, just like, what do I want to mention? And I remember, like, similar to what Austin was saying about how, he remembers playing Mario and stuff. Like there is a sort of wonder that I had when I played Pokemon Pearl. I remember, like, I've always had this thing, and Austin probably, having lived with me, Austin knows that, like, I like to be in the dark when I'm like experiencing media, be it like a movie or playing a game. I always turn the lights off. I also try to make a move on Austin constantly, but he just never got anywhere. I always said I wanted to see him do it.
Yeah.
So I tried turning on the lights. He gets freaked out.
Yep. And so I remember staying in the closet, like, like going into my closet and closing the door and like.
Well, this statement followed by the last statement is really throwing viewers.
I'm not going to explain it any further. But no, I just like that stuff was so, like, I have, like, it's a like a core memory, I think that's what that word is, a core memory. I think that's one.
Yeah. I mean, listen, everyone, like, it's literally a meme of just like the DS under the control, like under your pillow,
Yeah.
Of like, I have to pretend to be asleep.
And I've done that so many, I did that so often.
Every gamer has.
Yeah.
Every gamer.
And you know what? Actually, because we'll do a snake draft here because I think.
I was thinking the same thing. Let's do it.
Because speaking of a core memory about video games, the next one is actually another portable console. Austin, do you know what it is? Do you want to guess?
Another portable console?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's not on your list.
Emphasis. It is not. It is not. Emphasis on portable.
Okay. Ooh, emphasis on portable. Oh, well, it's PlayStation Portable, obviously.
Yeah, that's the one.
Let's see. What? Oh, is it is it like Killzone or something?
No, it's Need for Speed Most Wanted.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I remember so I had this little MP3 player, and I had like a few songs on it, and I'd put it on the windowsill, right? I'd open the window to my bedroom. I'd sit right in front of it with my PSP in my hands, and we were on the third floor, so like we'd catch the breeze, and so as I'm playing the game, I would feel the wind on my face, and I was like, oh, I'm going at the speed, like it felt like it was more realistic, and I had this, like, the MP3 player propped up so I could like play music And I literally I didn't listen to the Most Wanted soundtrack too much because I was I was creating my own soundtrack for it. But yeah, that's another absolutely like pivotal core memory for me of playing Most Wanted. And it's like Most Wanted something. It's like there's like numbers after it. I forget what it is because it's like a PSP edition or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was so much fun, and I love the PSP. If it would, it is so crazy. I think the PSP, a lot of it is like ahead of its curve or ahead of its time. Like the PSP Go being like all digital and stuff like that. That was crazy. Who?
Yeah,
Why,
that's literally
why would you do
everything
that
now.
so far back? But now it's the norm. But anyway,
It's the norm. Yeah.
yeah, I
I mean,
digress.
I even think the PS Vita was ahead of its time because like
Yeah,
now I think people
100%.
appreciate it for what it is, but like back then people were like, "Fuck this console."
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
just very weird how much we're just like unappreciative of it in the moment, and I guess that's kind of like
The games we're
a
talking about.
part of this too. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
like sometimes we don't appreciate,
And
being in the
dude,
good moments.
and really, it's like when we think about Pokemon, right? Like I enjoyed
I
Pokemon so unabashed, like in terms of like now when I
agreed.
play it, I'm like, oh, yeah, you're just sending a kid out into the world. Yeah, okay, like there's like some part of me that's like that, but like I didn't have that like for me because I was that age. I was the age that those kids were in the game, right? So I was like, I'm hitting the town, boys. Like it was like I didn't have that rational thought at all, or like holding me
I
back.
mean, we're also at a point now to where like I can't play a new Pokemon game because I'm like, who the fuck is this Pokemon?
Yeah,
Like
literally,
I like
who's that Pokemon?
legitimately,
Literally,
yeah, yeah, no. It's not like a who's that Pokemon? It's like who the fuck are you and why do I care? Like just give me Pikachu, like
yeah,
so like it is like kind of like an old gamer versus new gamer type of mentality of just like yeah, I kind of stopped around Diamond and Pearl
yeah.
and I don't really know any of the new Pokemon. Like I played, Sword and Shield. I played fuck, what were
Violet, Scarlet Violet.
I actually didn't play Scarlet
Oh,
and Violet.
Arceus,
I
Legends
I played
Arceus.
Arceus. This is what I was thinking of. But yeah, so it's just very weird now cuz I'm just like I have to learn shit and I don't feel like learning shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
It's also the reason why I
so it's
don't
just like that.
open up as many packs because like I have the cards. I don't know what the Pokemon is.
Yeah. But the cards, the same thing of like with the games. The cards that mean something to me are too fucking expensive
Expensive to
now.
yeah,
So like I am just without those memories. Like whatever happened to my cards that got thrown away X amount of years ago, they're just gone. Like I just have to try to find small glimpses of my childhood, just out and about,
yeah,
and hope I can get a good price on them.
yeah. All right, it's your turn. What do you got for me?
So I'm gonna stick with Nintendo 64, and
Okay.
I'm gonna reference a time where I got hit by a car, and I was in a full leg cast, and I still have scars on my leg for
Yeah.
this exact incident. Uh, this was like the solidifying, like I am going to be a video game player for the rest of my life. Because that's all I had. Um, we had a Dreamcast that I did play a little bit during this time, which is just kind of like a fun little tidbit. But the main thing that I feel like was like my first accomplishment as a gamer is I so we had like a little TV that we would roll around, and I legitimately couldn't walk. Like I couldn't even go to school because my school wasn't like handicap accessible at the time. So like I had my teacher come in her off hours and homeschool me, and like yeah, like it was a crazy ordeal. And the only thing I had was video games. So I beat Zelda Ocarina of Time by myself, and this was like my accomplishment as a I think I got hit by a car when I was like 8. And I just like that's like the solidifying like hell yeah moment for me. And so like Zelda franchise in general, they got a fan for life. Yeah. I was lucky to grow up with the good ones too. Like
Sorry, I was briefly muted there for the audience. Austin could hear
Nice,
me.
nice.
Austin could hear
I
me.
could hear him.
But what I was saying was, it really is about the games that you grew up with. And so there's a few games that I played initially that I was not hot on, like I didn't like. And then I went back to them and I'm like, now this was the time for me to play it. Like, this is the time in my life where I need to experience this. Now go ahead.
Yeah,
What's
you
your...
somehow just kind of you fall into the right time.
Yeah.
For video games sometimes, and
Yeah.
sometimes a game resonates with you, other times it doesn't. Sometimes you're in a mood for a shooter, sometimes you're in a mood for a stabber.
Exactly. That's what they say. That's what they
Yeah,
say.
the shooter or stabber games. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. The stabbing genre is coming up soon.
Or for my next one,
Yeah.
I'll paint a picture because this
Okay.
is like this is one of the hype ass moments of my childhood as well.
Okay.
So
I'm sitting back. I'm closing my eyes.
okay. The excitement's in the air. I'm about 9-10 years old, and it's a nice, cool winter morning. I'm awake at the crack of dawn because it's Christmas, baby, and I'm excited. I smell all the presents. Santa has eaten the cookies. The milk has been drank, but no one else is awake. So I'm like, everybody get the fuck up because Santa came, baby. And so everyone comes downstairs, they file in, and then my mom does the, like, oh, what's Santa bring? And so we sit there, we go through all these presents, and obviously my mom knows which presents are which. So she saves one present for last. And me and my brother's names are written on this present. We open that bad boy up, and what do we find? A Sony PlayStation 2. And the game that accompanied this, and this was the only game we had at the time, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. And Tony Hawk, I mean, it goes without saying, it's just like Tony Hawk Pro Skater ruled for like a generation. And like it's just wild even thinking about it. Of like, yes, we have Madden, yes, we have NBA, yes, we have NHL, yes, we have all these other sports games. But like, who at the time, would have really ever thought a skateboarding game would have been this thing that to this day is standing the test of time. And
People
when
love
they
the Tony
re-released
Hawk
those
Pro
games,
Skater.
just look at it. Like when they re-released those games, everyone flocked to it. They were like, "Holy shit, this is my childhood." These songs that are on this playlist forever are going to just be associated with that same kind of feeling as like, this is my childhood. This is like it excited like a whole new like a whole new era of potential skateboarders. A whole different genre like, opened up for gamers. It was just like this weird thing at the time of like even like I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for the Nintendo 64, super iconic yellow cartridge. But like this memory specifically, because like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, I remember you after playing it for a little bit, you can unlock like Boba Fett as like one of the playable characters, and like
Really?
all this other
Damn.
stuff. Yeah. It's super goofy shit, and that's kind of like the beauty of Tony Hawk is that it takes itself seriously as like the skateboarding and everything can be done.
Right.
And it's very true to it. It falls. It kind of shows everything, and like you respawn and stuff like that because it's a video game. But like it also like has this part of it to where it doesn't take itself seriously at all. So it's like this perfect blend of like living out like a potentially like dangerous kind of sport of skateboarding and doing crazier things of like breaking through windows and jumping up all the like these flights of stairs or jumping off these flights of stairs or jumping off this building or like all these crazy things,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've never been as excited in my memory for a gift than that. Like I remember opening that and just like legitimately like jaw dropping, forgetting everything else and me and him hooking it up and immediately playing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Tony Hawk, obviously will always be a fan.
That is see, that's also I mean, from the way you described it, Lynn, I think that's a core memory. That's something that's like
Oh,
you
for
you can
sure,
just
for
like
sure. The
feel yourself
PS2,
back to.
the PS2 is still probably my favorite console of all time.
That's fair. I mean, it is.
Like it,
Is it not the best-selling console, or is it one of the best? Is it like
not anymore.
top
Not
three at
anymore.
least? Top three, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think the
Four?
PS5 outsold it for sure.
Not overall. The PS5 is not outsold. The PS4, I think, has.
Or maybe it is the PS4.
People, first 2 years of PS5, people couldn't find that that damn console on shelves. So all right, while Austin's doing the research, on
Yeah,
that,
you're up for 2 here.
yes, I wanted to see where I wanted to take this conversation, and I think really, there's there was a phase in my life that was like Nintendo was everything. And so I'm going to say this briefly as an honorable mention because it's going to transition me into, I'm not going to talk about Nintendo again for a bit. So,
Okay, just to interrupt real quick. So it looks like as of the last numbers, which I don't think that these are correct. It says the last.
always good to
numbers
say
was
that right before you
August
say
7th.
it, announce it.
No. So PlayStation 2 is number 1.
Okay.
Nintendo switches to PS4
It's
is
three.
3.
Okay.
Okay, no. Okay, no, I agree with this. And then PS5 is right below that.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, crazy. No, Xbox is on there, man.
No, Xbox, I don't even think cracked like the top 7.
Jeez. Okay. Well, okay. The honorable mention before we get to the actual my next big one is Wii Sports, another like game that it's a few times. It's actually the only time in my life where my parents also played a video game with me, and so it was a crazy experience. That like Wii bowling and Wii tennis. It was just like a thing we did together as a family. And so yeah, what Nintendo was able to do with the Wii, and I think for a certain kind of a certain time period, that like that time frame, the Wii was just everywhere. Like everyone, it was like
I mean, it's the fucking.
it's like a coffee table. Like everyone just had one.
5th highest selling console of all time. And this game that you're describing came with every single console.
Yes, exactly. And so yeah, Wii Sports. I played so much Wii Sports, and so that's an honorable mention. But after
we actually just played it. We played this in the apartment every fucking day almost.
We did play a lot of Wii Sports. And yeah, we did. So okay, my next real one though is actually transitioning to the PlayStation 3 because I had I went over to a friend's house who had a PlayStation 3. At the time, I only had a DS and a Wii, and I think I don't think I had a PSP, and or maybe I did. Either way, it is relevant to the point. I remember him inviting me over, and we played Fallout New Vegas, and I was like, you can do this in a video game. Like you can just it's an open world, but it's not just like you're not looking down at them like Pokemon. It's different. And so, of course, I eventually, after lots of nagging, convinced my parents to get me a PlayStation 3. And the first game that I got was actually packaged in with the PlayStation 3. I could not convince them to buy me a game on top of that. So I got the game that was bundled in. And that game was Call of Duty Black Ops 1. And that game, I think this is part of it. It kind of sounds like it's Stockholm Syndrome, but I think that in terms of like it's the only game I had on the PlayStation 3 for a few weeks, and until I was able to save up enough money or something.
I mean, granted, people that didn't only have Black Ops 1, that was the only game they played for a couple of
yes. Well. But like I played so much Black Ops. I played the campaign over and over again. I played the zombies and I played the multiplayer mostly. It just sucked me in. And I think that it was built itself because then Modern Warfare 3, I remember, being like, oh, like I was actually excited for the launch of Modern Warfare 3, and then Black Ops 2, I was like, this is the best game. This is incredible. And yeah, but Black Ops 1, I just remember playing like so much. So that's the next one. That's the big one. Call of Duty Black Ops 1.
I mean, and let's take a moment to sit there and pause and just give a moment of silence to midnight releases,
Yeah, absolutely, right? Like, yeah, that's actually
A
the
moment of
tragedy of this for
silence,
me.
Sari.
Oh,
A
sorry.
moment of silence.
So the real
Now speak.
tragedy of this is that I didn't really get to experience midnight releases when I was a kid because I have Indian parents, and the idea of staying up until midnight to go pick up a game was outlandish.
That's fair. That, to be honest, that's fair. It is fair.
But I always wanted to do one, and I remember like when I worked at GameStop. They didn't do they were like just finishing, like they stopped doing them, but the few midnight launches they had, I didn't my store did not do because I was in a mall, and the mall closed early because you couldn't keep the mall open until midnight. So yeah, it was never enjoyed a midnight release. That's still my goal. Hopefully they do some midnight release I can attend sometime soon.
Listen, if there's another midnight release, I'll be there with you, Suri. That's the promise.
So okay, so
All right.
my second game in the pick here is, you'd think it'd be Fallout, but it's not. It's actually a game called Resistance: Fall of Man. These games, by the time I got to them, were like a few dollars. They're very cheap. So for me, it was still like a long process. I had to like go get one and then the other, and then like save up for the third one a friend gave to me as a gift. But boom, there it is. I actually have.
Boom.
I don't know if I have I should. I honestly,
me and Suri actually just picked this up at a video game conference that we were at.
Hell yeah. And yeah, I convinced him to get it because I love Resistance: Fall of Man. And honestly,
I have all three of
and
them
I'm glad
over there
Austin showed the cover, because I remember I wasn't able to just flaunt it on the shelf because it's a skeleton. It's an alien skeleton,
Yeah.
but it's still
Also,
a skull.
Insomniac.
Yes, Insomniac. And for me, this is Insomniac for me. It's not Spider-Man. I know I love Spider-Man, but what they did here with the story, the trilogy, is honestly like so interesting that I find that the whole narrative, considering what it is, it's a first-person shooter where you're fighting aliens in an alien invasion. It doesn't sound like there's room for a lot of crazy ideas, but I really do love the narrative story. If you play it, I really do think it's not just a commitment of one game. You have to play 1, 2, and at least experience 3 so that you understand the like to describe it briefly. And again, I it's one of those things. I wish I could experience this again as an adult for the first time, because the first game gives you the idea of, okay, it's it's an alien invasion and you're in Europe and you're fighting the alien invasion. It then in Resistance 2, it builds on that, pushes that narrative forward, and then it ends on a crazy note. I think so Resistance 2 ends on a crazy note, and then Resistance 3 picks up on a crazier note, in my opinion, of that, and is also like the most immersive game in the whole lot, and it really holds up well, I think. But Resistance: Fall of Man does not so much. But you have to bear through the pain to get through to some of the other ones. But yeah, I absolutely love those.
I mean, Insomniac, just thinking back on it, like they played such a huge part in my childhood. With Jak and Daxter. They were also originally Crash, right? Crash Bandicoot?
That was Naughty Dog, I thought.
Oh, you're right. It's Naughty Dog. Didn't they did another that I'm blanking on. Insomniac. Not Insomnia Cookies.
Spyro? No. The Spyro's
That's what I was gonna say. I think they did another.
Is it Spyro?
It might be Spyro, but now I'm second guessing my whole life. I mean, Jak and Daxter still. It was already on my list. Of like games. It is Spyro. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Cool.
Because yeah, I almost put Spyro and Crash on there as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously huge parts of my life. So yeah, I mean, we're getting kind of late in the podcast, so I say, what do you think? One more each, 2 more each, and then we kind of just, if we have any honorable mentions, throw them out.
Let's do it. Right. So you finish and I'll finish, and then that's it.
All right, and then so I'll. Which one do I want to put? Okay, it has to be this game.
Sorry, no, I'll let you do two.
Solidifying.
I'll let you do two. So you have one,
No,
and
no, no.
then
I want one. I
okay,
want
okay,
one
okay,
because I just want one, and then I'll run down a few of my honorable
okay,
mentions
okay,
after,
sure.
or I'll do my honorable mentions now. I mean, games that I had on this list, RuneScape, obviously,
A
like
game I never
online, I
got
played a
into
fuck ton.
personally, but yeah, I've
Club Penguin, huge door in my childhood.
yep.
Something I'll never forget. The street games, so the NFL and NBA Street. I didn't really ever play FIFA Street, but obviously it was all part um, of that of that franchise. But NFL and NBA Street, absolutely love those. Borderlands, very sad
Really,
what
that's not
happened
the
with the
game
movie.
you're gonna save for last?
It's not going to be the game I save for last.
Wow. Okay.
Left 4 Dead, another game franchise that I played a lot of, but my last game I have to bring. This game helped me solidify real life friendships for the rest of my life. This game has not only like a feeling, a moment, that like memory, or memories, I should say. It has a taste as well, and it's Halo 3. Um,
Mountain
Halo
Dew and
3,
Doritos.
Mountain Dew and Doritos, but not only just Mountain Dew, specifically Game Fuel. I
Game Fuel.
remember.
Oh shit.
So the game Halo 3 came out roughly around my birthday while I was in elementary school. Came out September 25th, so a month before my birthday in 2007. I remember asking if I can have this game, and I just so happened to get it. I didn't know, like I knew people in my class because I've gone to that school at the time for a while, but I never talked to this one guy. And just so happened to hear him talking about Halo 3, and I was like, dude, I literally have it waiting for me at the house. I can't wait to go back. I remember him writing his gamer tag on a piece of paper, and he's like, "Oh, add me. We can run through the campaign together, you know." And not only did I get introduced to that friend, I got introduced to my lifelong friend. Well, not really introduced, but like I created a bond with my lifelong best friend, who goes by the same name, Austin, as well.
You say he goes by the same name as if his name is something else, and he's like, "Oh, I just go by Austin, but
yeah,
my
he
name's
just goes
Derek."
by it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. His real name is Derek. So I remember literally this exact sequence of things happening. So me and my friend Rob at the time, we were walking back from school. He was like, "I'm gonna go to your house. And we're gonna play split screen." And I was like, "All right, that's cool." So we stopped at. I grew up in South Philly, so everybody knows everybody. There was a corner store named Bob's, and it was just because the owner's name was Bob. We walk in there and we say like, "Oh, hey, what's
Sure,
up?"
his name was
Whatever. Just
wasn't Austin.
he might have gone by Austin.
Yeah.
Um, but so we go in there and we're talking about the game, all this other stuff, and he's like, "Oh, it's actually funny you mentioned Halo of all things, because like we just got this new drink in that like is like sponsored by Halo or whatever." So he's like, "I'll just give you guys one, and you guys go have a good rest of your night or whatever." And
He just gave you a free
so
one?
yeah, literally every morning I would go. Every morning
Uh,
and afternoon I would almost go to this corner store.
I see.
Because we would get like $1 in quarters going to school, because we would get like pretzels and stuff at lunch.
Right.
But that dollar would end up turning into he had vending machines that you can get stickers or Pokemon cards from. So I would do that. Like I would go in and put like 4 quarters in, then you press it in and then press it out, and then it comes out with something.
Nice,
Um,
nice. Money well
So yeah,
spent.
that's the type of stuff we would get into. So yeah, we had Game Fuel, and then that became like my obsession as I was playing Halo 3. I was like, this is what I'm meant to be doing right now, is drinking this and playing this game with my friends. And yeah, so everything from the campaign that I've beaten thousands of times, to the custom game modes that I've played, to the hundreds of hours I put into the multiplayer. Um, it's it's the game that if I was like, damn, if I could relive those moments, it would be that. It would be Halo 3, online custom game lobbies, hanging out with the friends until we get yelled at to get off. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just even it's tugging at my heartstrings just even thinking about those moments because we're all
And
old now and
and it's true.
can't
No,
play video games
I can actually like I know you for a long time. That's probably the most like sincere you've been about games I think I've ever heard you say.
It's just the truth, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and listen, it's even weird because every now and again I'll see a Game Fuel because like it's like a more accessible flavor.
Yeah.
Like they'll put it out more frequently now. And it doesn't taste the same. Doesn't
They
taste
never
the
do.
same.
They never do. Probably because they also
Never
change the
does.
ingredients, but
They
it'll
probably
also
put
never.
things that are like less illegal.
It'll yeah. It'll never
It was
still
probably
be the same.
awful for me, but I drank like fucking like 4 cases of that shit when it came out.
That's how you got to do it, man. That's how you got to do it.
Yeah, that's how you gotta do it. But yeah, Halo 3, shout out. Also very disappointed with Halo Infinite. Just quick hitter. Fuck that game. I don't really like it that much.
Wow, we were going towards such emotional depth, and then we gotta give a little.
You gotta undercut it.
Yeah.
You can't let people think I'm a big softie. You gotta undercut it with a joke or something.
Well, so for me, I think that there was a period of time where, because I can really group some of the games that I have in my head about like there were pivotal games for me. I can group into certain categories, and the one big category is games that made me feel like they were in a world. And this was Assassin's Creed 1 was huge because I was like, wait, this is like a whole city I can explore, but I can like parkour around. Like that sounded so cool to me. And then I remember playing Far Cry 2 and being in first person. That was also mind-blowing to me. Like being in first person and driving around this whole big map, and the idea that I could just get into a car and then start driving the car. I remember like showing like my parents that. I was like, "Look, do you see this? Like, I'm driving in the game." And so like yeah, like there's that. Fallout and is another one, again open world first person, but it was like a much more of an RPG than the other one. Infamous, for similar reasons to Assassin's Creed. Infamous 1 and 2 are both like Infamous 2 is actually surprisingly a game that made me cry. It's one of the few games that has ever made me cry, and I always remember I'm like, Infamous 2, that's the one. Like, and I'm curious to one day return to Infamous 2 and be like, does it still do anything, or is it, I don't know, it was a different
different mindset, different feeling.
Yeah.
Different level of emotional maturity.
Yeah. And last honorable mention before I say my big final one is, and it's going to be very anticlimactic, but I'd like to have a certain level of honesty. There is a core memory I have that I'm not going to share with you, but around Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, I think that's what it's called. It's a long name.
Oh yeah, the side scrolling.
Yes,
one?
yeah.
Yeah.
There is like such visceral memories where I have around that game. Again, that's just for me to know and you did not find out. But that's another one that like really kind of came to mind as I was thinking through them. But the game that kept returning to the top of my mind as I thought about games that made us is similar to how it worked out for Austin in terms of the game came out on his birthday. This one came out about like a week before my birthday, and I remember getting it as a birthday present, as an early birthday present, and I still have the receipt for the game inside the case for the game, and that is The Last of Us. That game completely changed the way I looked at video games as storytelling devices. I'm a big movie guy, and I've watched all ranges of movies, but up until The Last of Us game, I never thought about games in that way. It's not the fact that it got me emotional, let alone the fact that it got me emotional in the first like 15-20 minutes of the game, but again, games
the opening of that game is still one of the most horrific things in the world.
Yeah, and so like that experience aside, there's so much in the way that the game is crafted, the way the narrative folds. And I think maybe just recently playing A Quiet Place, The Road Ahead, and then constantly kind of thinking about The Last of Us just by like default, with, you know, the clicking monster and the post-apocalyptic world and the stealth and everything. I was just, I couldn't help but think, I'm like, the emotional depth that I felt playing that game and the way that it made me feel, and part 2 as well, but like the first one so much strongly, or so much more strongly. I will never forget The Last of Us, and finishing The Last of Us and sitting, those moments of like sitting on that black screen and then cutting the credits. And similar to like, actually, I'll say like part 2. I finished part 2, and I'm not joking. I was, for an hour straight after I finished part 2, I just laid there thinking about the game. And I remember like laying back. I had, again, I just rolled credits. I had laid back, and I was staring at the ceiling, and I could see on the ceiling the lights of the credits roll by, like as the credits rolled. And I remember just staring at that, and for so long, just thinking about the game, and yeah, the whole experience. So those are our game core memories around games, the games that made us the gamers we are today. I think, we've come a long way, Austin, you and I. And I think
very far.
As much as it is like we've gotten older, and I think this is what this show has really kind of reminded me of, like doing this whole episode with you, is that we're now in a place. I find that we're now in a place where we could afford the games that we wanted to play so easily.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't go out day one and say, "Oh, I'm going to pick up this game right now." We can do that now, but the cost of that luxury is that we can no longer enjoy the games that we buy.
I agree. You know how many games I have in my backlog right now? Because I just I'm like, oh, I really want to buy this, or oh, I really wanted to play this like 10 years ago. And it just created like that situation of yeah. And like it's almost like how like when you cook food, it always just doesn't taste as good as if someone else made it for you, Yeah. Really like a sandwich that wasn't made by me.
But I will say, to end the episode, a final note, perhaps maybe to lift the mood a little bit. While everything I said is true, I do believe it, that while we can't afford these games now, it's at the expense of not enjoying the games as much, or at all if you can't get around to playing it.
There's a trade-off. Yeah, 100%.
I also think that, like I was saying earlier, the certain games come out at the right time in your life, or that you reach certain games at the right time in your life. I kind of mentioned it briefly, but like Fallout 3, I initially played and I absolutely did not like that game at all. And I gave it a few years and I went back to it and I was blown away. I was like, how did I hate this game? I absolutely loved it. Like it was incredible to me. And just like that, your the next favorite game you have, the next best experience you have, the next core memory that you'll look back on is yet to happen. It's just out there. Your favorite game might already be out and you might not have played it yet. So, or it's coming soon. You never know. So, look ahead to all the experiences that await you at whatever station you respawn at. So, with that said, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of the Respawn Station podcast. Thanks for Austin for joining me on this unexpectedly deep episode. And until next time, as always, have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good